The Armani suit was custom-tailored. The watch was Swiss. The confidence was pharmaceutical grade. But none of it prepared Choi Woi-shik for the moment he walked into Seoul's most exclusive restaurant for a blind date and locked eyes with a woman who'd seen him cry into his couch cushions at 2 a.m. while wearing dinosaur pajamas. "Welcome, my lovely people. Where in the world are you watching from?" Wojcik had thrown up twice before leaving his penthouse. Not from nerves about the date. Though his mother's ominous "she's perfect for you" had activated every instinct that kept him alive in the smuggling business, but from the aggressive hangover courtesy of last night's negotiations with the Busan crew. Negotiations that had involved entirely too much soju in a karaoke battle that resolved exactly nothing except confirming that nobody, absolutely nobody, could hit the high notes and into the new world. His second in command, Park Min-jae, had driven him to the restaurant with the solemnity of a man escorting someone to their execution. "Your mother said the woman is educated, sophisticated, and doesn't tolerate nonsense," Min-jae reported, navigating Seoul traffic with the precision of someone who'd done multiple vehicular escapes. "Which means she's either terrifying or imaginary." "Maybe both," Wojcik muttered, checking his reflection in the tinted window. The bruise on his jaw from last week's dispute had faded to a sophisticated shadow. His hair, freshly cut, made him look almost legitimate. "Almost. Did you run the background check? Your mother threatened to disown you if you investigated her matchmaking candidate. So that's a no. That's a, I value my life, and your mother has connections to people who make bodies disappear." Min-jae pulled up to the restaurant's entrance, where valets in crisp uniforms waited like honor guards. "Good luck, boss. Try not to mention the illegal shipping empire before dessert." Wojcik straightened his tie, silk, Italian, probably worth more than most people's monthly rent, and stepped into the Seoul night. The restaurant, Serenity, was the kind of place where reservations required both money and pedigree, where the wealthy came to see and be seen, where everything was beautiful and nothing was real. Perfect for a blind date he absolutely didn't want. The hostess recognized him immediately. Of course she did. The Choi family name opened doors and closed mouths across Seoul. She led him through the dining room. All soft lighting and softer music, couples leaning close over tables that cost what some families spend on monthly groceries, to a private corner booth. "Your guest hasn't arrived yet, Mr. Choi. May I bring you something while you wait?" "Whiskey. The expensive kind that doesn't burn." He paused. "Actually, bring two. I'm going to need options." She smiled professionally and disappeared. Wojcik settled into the booth, back to the wall. Old habit, useful habit, and tried to remember the last time he'd been on an actual date. Not the transactional dinners with business associates' daughters. Not the awkward setups his mother arranged with women who saw one signs instead of a person, but a real date where someone might actually want to know him. 3 years? 4? His phone buzzed. "Min-jae, your accountant just sent me poetry. About tax optimization. I'm concerned." Wojcik was typing a response about how Chanwoo's creative accounting was the least weird thing about his organization when he felt it. That prickle of awareness that came from years of watching his back, of knowing when someone important had entered his space. He looked up, and his entire world tilted sideways. Because walking toward his table, wearing a dress that transformed her from someone who scrubbed his floors into someone who could bring nations to their knees, was Ivana Johnson, his maid, his confidant. The woman who left philosophical recommendations in his books and told him to eat better and had somehow, impossibly, seen past the money and the violence and the carefully constructed walls to the scared kid underneath who just wanted to make pastries and be left alone. Their eyes met across the restaurant. Her steps faltered. Her eyes, warm brown, usually filled with patient amusement at his disasters, went wide with recognition, then shock, then something that might have been horror or might have been the exact same panic currently short-circuiting his brain. The hostess, oblivious to the small apocalypse occurring in her establishment, gestured Ivana toward his booth with a practiced smile. Ivana stood frozen, bouquet of flowers in hand. Flowers. She'd brought flowers like this was a real date, like she'd actually wanted to be here. And Wojcik watched her face cycle through emotions faster than he could track. Surprise, confusion, understanding. Then, and this was the part that made his chest constrict, something that looked painfully close to hurt. "She thinks this is a joke. She thinks I set this up to humiliate her." Wojciech stood abruptly, chair scraping against polished floor, drawing attention from neighboring tables. His whiskey arrived at precisely the wrong moment. The server placed both glasses on the table, read the room with impressive speed, and vanished. Ivana. Her name came out rough, desperate. This isn't your mother, Ivana said quietly, still standing 3 feet away like the distance might protect her from whatever fresh humiliation this evening promised. Her voice carried that careful neutrality she used when cleaning up his disasters, when pretending his vulnerability didn't exist. Mrs. Choi set this up. She didn't tell me it was you. Wojciech's hands found his pockets, because if they didn't, they might reach for her, might beg her not to leave. I swear, I had no idea. She just said, she told me, educated, sophisticated, doesn't tolerate nonsense. Ivana's smile was sharp enough to draw blood. She told me the same thing about you, though she left out the part about the dinosaur pajamas and the 2 a.m. crying sessions over romance novels. Several things happened simultaneously. Wojciech's face went hot. A woman at a nearby table choked on her wine. And somewhere in the universe, his mother was probably cackling with satisfaction at her masterful manipulation. I can explain the dinosaurs, he said weakly. Can you explain this? Ivana gestured between them, bouquet trembling slightly in her grip. Can you explain why your mother thought her son, a man who runs a shipping empire and definitely doesn't just ship legal cargo, should go on a blind date with a woman who cleans his apartment? No, Wojciech admitted. But I'm starting to suspect my mother is either a genius or actively trying to kill me with stress. Both. Definitely both. Ivana still hadn't moved closer, but she hadn't left either. That felt significant. You know what's funny? I almost canceled. Told myself blind dates were disasters waiting to happen, that I had no business pretending to be someone who belongs in places like this. You belong anywhere you want to be. The words came out fierce, urgent, before Wojciech could stop them. You're the smartest person I know. You have a master's degree in international relations. You speak 4 languages, and you reorganize my entire life twice a week while I'm out there pretending to be someone I'm not. Ivana's expression softened, just slightly. You read my resume. I memorized your resume. After the first week, I had Minjay pull your file because I needed to understand how someone ended up cleaning apartments when they should be running the world. He took a careful step closer. You want to know what I found? That I'm a disaster with terrible judgment in men and worse luck in job markets? That you're surviving something that would have broken most people? That you're biding time, learning, planning your next move? That you leave notes in my books because you see someone worth helping even when he's face down in his own mess? Wojciech gestured to the booth. So here's the situation. My mother, who has never been subtle a day in her life, decided her criminal son needed to meet someone real. Someone who already knows exactly who I am and hasn't run screaming. Yet, Ivana echoed. We can leave. Right now. Pretend this never happened. Go back to employer-employee professional distance, you leaving passive-aggressive notes about my Ramian consumption. He met her eyes, let her see the hope he was desperately trying to contain. Or we can sit down, eat overpriced food, and possibly see if the person I write about in my journal and the person you leave book recommendations for might actually want to have one honest conversation. The restaurant hummed around them. Glasses clinked. Conversations murmured. Somewhere, a piano played something soft and aching. Ivana looked at the booth, at him, at the flowers in her hand. When she spoke, her voice carried both vulnerability and steel. If we actually do this, I need you to answer one question first. Anything, that entry in your journal, the one about connection and trust and not knowing how to let anyone close. She stepped forward, finally, close enough that he could smell her perfume, something warm and subtle that made his chest ache. Did you mean it? Or was that just late-night rambling from someone who had too much soju? Wojciech thought about lying, about deflecting, about protecting himself the way he'd learned to protect everything else in his dangerous, complicated life. Instead, he told the truth. I meant every word. You're the only person who's ever seen me completely fall apart and still showed up the next day. The only one who treats me like I'm human instead of useful. And he swallowed hard. I've been half in love with you since you reorganized my books by series because you understood they wanted to be with their families. The words hung between them. Fragile and terrifying. Ivana's eyes glistened. Then she laughed, soft, disbelieving, real. Your mother is absolutely terrifying, and I think I love her. Is that a yes to dinner? That's a yes to trying. She handed him the flowers. But if you ever pay me to clean your apartment again, I'm stealing your romance novels and selling them online. Deal. Wojcik accepted the bouquet like it was treasure, like it was a promise. Now please sit down before I pass out from relief or my hangover, whichever comes first. They slid into the booth, sitting across from each other in the space Mrs. Choi had orchestrated. The whiskey sat between them like a mediator. Ivana picked up one glass, studied the amber liquid, then looked at him with those eyes that had always seen too much. So, tell me something real. Not boss to employee. Not whatever this is. Just you. Wojcik picked up his own glass, let the weight of it ground him. Outside, Seoul glittered with a million lights and a million secrets. Inside, for the first time in years, he felt like maybe he could stop hiding. I hate the shipping business, he said quietly. Every single day, I want to be a pastry chef. Had a whole plan, culinary school in Paris, little bakery somewhere quiet, making things that brought people joy instead of profit. He smiled ruefully. Then my grandfather died and left me an empire built on broken laws and family obligation. And suddenly I was responsible for 300 people's livelihoods and my mother's safety and carrying on this legacy I never wanted. Ivana listened without judgment, without shock. Just listened. And the worst part, Wojcik continued. I'm good at it. Really good. Which makes me wonder if maybe I'm exactly who I was supposed to be all along. Just another Choi, making money off gray morality and calling it business. Or, Ivana said softly, maybe you're someone trying to survive what they inherited while looking for a way out. That doesn't make you evil. That makes you trapped. Something in Wojcik's chest cracked open. How do you do that? Do what? See the best parts of people even when they can't see it themselves. Ivana's smile was sad, knowing. Because someone needs to, and because I know what it's like to be judged for circumstances instead of character. She lifted her glass in a small toast. To unexpected moments, and mothers who scheme. To mothers who scheme, Wojcik agreed, glasses chiming together like a vow. And somewhere across Seoul, in her luxury apartment, Mrs. Choi's Sun-hee smiled into her tea and began planning the wedding. Her work here was just beginning. Where in the world are you watching from? Don't forget to subscribe. The dessert menu arrived like a peace treaty. Wojcik had just finished explaining how his accountant Chan-woo had accidentally laundered money through a pet grooming business. Don't ask, I still don't understand it. There were poodles involved when Ivana's phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at it, frowned, then her entire body went rigid. What's wrong? Wojcik's hand moved instinctively toward his jacket, where a very illegal and very expensive pistol rested against his ribs. Old habits. My ex. Ivana's voice had gone flat, dangerous. Darnell. He's here. In Seoul. The one who stole your savings and ran off with your best friend? That's the one. She showed him a message. Asterisk saw you at Serenity. Looking good. We should talk. I'm at the bar. Asterisk. Wojcik's vision went slightly red. Wanting to have him removed? Min Jae's still outside. Very efficient at removing problems. Tempting. Ivana set her phone down with careful precision. But I should handle this myself. Prove I moved on. Have you moved on? She met his eyes, and something warm and terrifying passed between them. Getting there. Recent developments are helping. Before Wojcik could process that statement, or the way it made his heart attempt gymnastics, a man approached their booth. Tall, handsome in that smooth, practiced way that immediately triggered Wojcik's. This person is garbage detector. Wearing a suit that screamed, I think I'm impressive. Ivana, baby. Darnell's smile was oil slick. Didn't expect to see you in a place like this. Moving up in the world, Ivana's expression could have frozen fire. Darnell, this is a private dinner. Just wanted to say hi. Apologize for how things ended. His eyes slid to Wojcik with thinly veiled assessment. Didn't realize you were dating again. That's great. Really great. The condescension dripped like poison. Wojcik stood slowly, adjusting his cufflinks with the precise, controlled movement that usually preceded violence in his world. He smiled. The smile that made grown men in shipping warehouses suddenly remember urgent business elsewhere. Choi Woi-shik, he said pleasantly, not offering his hand. And you are? Darnell Hughes. Ivana's mistake. Ivana cut in. He's my mistake. Past tense. Very past tense. Darnell's jaw tightened. Look, I just thought, here's what I think. Wojcik interrupted, stepping slightly in front of Ivana in a move that was pure territorial instinct. You stole from her, betrayed her trust, and now you're interrupting what was becoming a lovely evening. So I'm going to give you exactly 10 seconds to return to whatever hole you crawled out of before I make a phone call that ensures you never work in Asia again. Who the hell do you think you? 5 seconds. Something in Wojcik's voice, the part that negotiated with dangerous men in dark warehouses, the part that inherited an empire built on controlled violence, made Darnell actually step back. This isn't over, Darnell muttered, shooting Ivana a look that made Wojcik's trigger finger itch. It absolutely is, Ivana said coldly. Goodbye, Darnell. He left, radiating impotent rage. Wojcik watched until he disappeared into the bar crowd, then turned to Ivana. You okay? She laughed, slightly breathless. That was the hottest thing I've ever seen. Do you always threaten people with ominous phone calls? Only on Thursdays. He sat back down, adrenaline still singing through his veins. And only when they're bothering people, people who don't deserve harassment. People you what? Ivana leaned forward, eyes dancing with mischief and something warmer. People I'm currently having dinner with, Wojcik finished lamely. Obviously, her smile could have powered cities. So about those phone calls. Could you actually ruin someone's career in Asia? Probably. I know people. Bad people. People who owe me favors because I help them avoid customs inspections or lose inconvenient paperwork. He paused. Is that a problem? Should it be? Most people think so. Ivana reached across the table, fingers brushing his. The touch sent electricity straight to his chest. Most people didn't watch you cry over a book about star-crossed lovers while eating ice cream straight from the container at 3 a.m. That book was devastating. The protagonist deserved better. So do you? Her voice softened. Better than a life you don't want. Better than pretending all the time. Before Wojcik could respond, before he could explain that sitting here with her felt like the first real breath he'd taken in years, his phone exploded with notifications. Min Jae, asterisk boss. Problem, asterisk. Chanwoo, the Busan crew is here. Min Jae, asterisk they followed you. They're in the restaurant. This is very bad, asterisk. Oh hell. Wojcik's brain shifted instantly from romantic dinner to tactical survival. Ivana, we need to leave. Now, what's wrong? Remember how I mentioned negotiations last night? Turns out some people don't accept karaoke defeats as binding arbitration. He stood, scanning the restaurant. There, 3 men in dark suits, moving with purpose toward their section. They're here for a rematch. Probably less singing, more stabbing. Ivana's eyes went wide. Are you serious right now? Unfortunately. He grabbed her hand. Kitchen exit. Move. This is the worst first date ever, Ivana muttered. But she was already moving, letting him pull her toward the back of the restaurant. Second worst. Wojcik corrected, navigating between tables with practiced ease. The worst was when someone tried to poison me during appetizers. At least we made it to dessert this time. Your life is insane. I know. I'm sorry. They burst through the kitchen doors, startling a line of chefs. Wojcik bowed apologetically while speed-walking past industrial stoves. Emergency exit? A sous chef, wide-eyed, pointed toward the back. Behind them, shouts erupted from the dining room. They crashed through the exit into an alley that smelled like expensive trash and bad decisions. Min Jae's car screeched around the corner before Wojcik could even call. Boss! Min Jae shouted through the open window. In. Now. Wojcik yanked open the back door, practically throwing Ivana inside before diving in after her. The car was moving before he'd even closed the door. Sorry about dinner, Min Jae called back. The Busan crew is very upset about last night's insults to their karaoke skills. I said their harmonies needed work. Wojcik defended, breathing hard. That's constructive criticism. Ivana stared at him, then started laughing. Huge, gasping laughs that filled the car with something bright and slightly hysterical. You, she managed between giggles, are absolutely ridiculous. I know, Wojcik said miserably. This is my life. Running from consequences. Terrible karaoke opinions. I understand if she kissed him, right there in the back of Minjae's car, while fleeing organized crime figures offended by musical feedback. Ivana Johnson grabbed Choi Wojcik's very expensive tie and kissed him like the world was ending, and he was the last honest thing in it. When she pulled back, her eyes were bright. Best worst first date ever. Minjae caught Wojcik's stunned expression in the rearview mirror and grinned. Boss, I like her. Can we keep her? Shut up and drive, Wojcik whispered, but he was smiling, actually smiling for the first time in years. Outside, Seoul raced past in neon and possibility. Inside, everything had changed. Hooked, right? Wouldn't see what transpired next. Where in the map are you watching from? Minjae drove like Seoul's traffic laws were polite suggestions rather than actual regulations, which, given his employment history, they basically were. Where are we going? Ivana asked, still catching her breath from either the kiss or the near-death experience. Possibly both. Safe house in Gangnam, Wojcik said, trying to sound calm and professional while his lips still tingled from the best decision she'd ever made. We'll wait until the Busan crew calms down. Shouldn't take more than. His phone rang. Unknown number. Never good. Choi Wojcik speaking. Your mother gave me this number. The voice was female, accented, amused. Said to call if I saw anything interesting at Serenity tonight. Wojcik's blood went cold. Who is this? Kim Hye-jin. I run the Incheon operations your grandfather used to partner with. And I just watched 3 Busan idiots chase you out of the city's most expensive restaurant on what appeared to be a very promising date. A pause. The woman with you. She's pretty. Does she know about the shipping manifests? The customs bribes? The part where you're technically a criminal? Ivana's eyes went wide. Wojcik mouthed sorry while his brain scrambled for damage control. What do you want, Kim? Dinner. Tomorrow. Just us. Your new girlfriend can come too. I like her already. Anyone who kisses you while fleeing organized crime has excellent priorities. Hyejine's laugh was sharp. Don't look so panicked. This is a business opportunity, not a threat. The Busan crew won't bother you if you're under my protection. And I have a proposal your operation might find lucrative. I don't mix business with your personal life. Too late. She's already mixed in. The line went dead. Wojcik stared at his phone like it had betrayed him. So, Ivana said carefully. That sounded bad. Kim Hye-jin runs half of Korea's maritime smuggling operations. She's brilliant, ruthless, and apparently aware of our entire evening. He ran his hands through his hair, destroying its perfect styling. I'm so sorry. This is exactly why I don't date. Everything I touch turns into criminal complications. Hey, Ivana grabbed his hand. I kissed you, remember? While actively fleeing consequences. That was informed consent to whatever chaos comes next. Minjae snorted from the driver's seat. I really like her, boss. You've mentioned that, Wojcik muttered, but his fingers tightened around Ivana's. This isn't what you signed up for. I signed up to clean your apartment. Found your journal. Read about your emotional damage. And still showed up to a blind date. She smiled. My judgment was already questionable. Might as well commit. Before Wojcik could respond with something embarrassingly sincere, another call came through. His mother. He answered on speaker because hiding things from Mrs. Choi was like hiding from oxygen. Technically possible, but ultimately futile. Darling. His mother's voice filled the car with maternal enthusiasm and thinly veiled scheming. How was dinner? Did you like her? Did she like you? When's the wedding? Ma, we literally just met. You've been writing poetry about her for 2 months. Don't lie to your mother. Ivana's eyebrows shot up. Poetry. It wasn't poetry, Wojcik said desperately. It was journal entries. With metaphors. Occasionally rhyming. Accidentally. He compared your smile to sunrise over Jeju Island. Mrs. Choi announced proudly. Very romantic. Terrible meter, but the sentiment was beautiful. Ma, also, Kim Hye-jin called me. You're having dinner with her tomorrow. I already picked your outfit. Don't wear the blue tie. It makes you look like a sad businessman. Wear the burgundy. Women love burgundy. How do you know Kim Hye-jin? We're in the same book club. Lovely woman. Excellent taste in murder mysteries and illegal maritime operations. A pause. Bring Ivana. Hygiene wants to meet her properly. I'm sending outfit suggestions for her too. The call ended before Wojcik could process that his mother was apparently friends with one of Korea's most dangerous crime bosses through shared literary interests. Your family, Ivana said slowly, is incredible. That's one word for it. Min Jae pulled up to an elegant apartment building in Gangnam. All glass and steel and expensive security that asked no questions. Safe house, boss. Top floor. Fully stocked, secure, and the neighbors think you're a tech investor. Close enough to the truth, Wojcik muttered, helping Ivana out of the car. They rode the elevator in charged silence. The safe house was exactly what Wojcik needed for nights when business got complicated, modern, anonymous, comfortable. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Seoul's glittering skyline. Ivana walked to the windows, staring out at the city. This is your life. Running from consequences. Making deals with dangerous people. Never knowing if dinner will end with dessert or a car chase. Yes. Wojcik stood behind her, close but not touching. And I understand if I'm not finished. She turned, eyes fierce. This is your life. But that apartment where I work? That's your real life. The book's organized by family because that's what matters to you. The journal where you're honest about hating what you inherited. The man who cries over romance novels and tips too much and leaves notes thanking me for seeing him. Ivana, which one is real? The crime boss or the man who wanted to make pastries? Wojcik felt something crack open in his chest. Both. Neither. I don't know anymore. Then let's figure it out. She stepped closer, close enough that he could smell her perfume, feel her warmth. Together. One absolutely insane dinner date at a time. This is a terrible idea, he whispered. The best ones usually are. She kissed him again, slower this time, deliberate. Like a promise. Like a choice. Outside, Seoul hummed with a million secrets. Inside, two people decided that maybe, possibly, chaos was worth it if you found the right person to be chaotic with. Wojcik's phone buzzed with a message from his mother. Asterisk, I'm picking her wedding dress next week. Just so you know. Love you, asterisk. He showed it to Ivana. She laughed until she cried. And somewhere in Incheon, Kim Hygiene smiled and made plans that would change everything. The morning after changed everything. Wojcik woke on the safe house couch. They'd stayed up until 3 a.m. talking, laughing, carefully not discussing the fact that his entire criminal organization now knew about her. To find Ivana in his kitchen, wearing his shirt, making breakfast like she belonged there. Like she'd always belonged there. Coffee, she offered, entirely too chipper for someone who'd fled armed men 12 hours ago. You're terrifying, he mumbled, accepting the cup. How are you this functional? Years of practice, smiling, through disaster. She slid scrambled eggs onto plates. Also, your safe house has better groceries than my actual apartment. We need to discuss your priorities. Before Wojcik could respond, his phone erupted. Chan Woo, his accountant, video calling at 7 a.m. with the manic energy of someone who discovered either a brilliant solution or a catastrophic problem. Boss, I figured it out. Chan Woo's face filled the screen. Glasses askew, tie loosened. The Busan crew's financial records. They've been skimming from their own operations. If we expose them to their bosses in Busan, they'll be too busy explaining missing money to bother you about karaoke insults. Chan Woo, you're a genius and also possibly insane. Wojcik put the phone on speaker. How did you even get their records? Don't ask questions you don't want answered. Chan Woo's smile was slightly unhinged. I may have hacked their accountant's system. For legal purposes, that was a joke. For actual purposes, I'll send the files in 10 minutes. The call ended. Ivana stared at Wojcik. Your accountant commits federal crimes before breakfast? He's very dedicated. Wojcik's phone buzzed again. Min Jae this time. Text only. Asterisk Kim Hygiene moved dinner to lunch. Today. Noon. Non-negotiable. She said bring your girlfriend, or she'll assume you're not serious about business or romance. Her words, asterisk. Oh hell. What now? Ivana sat across from him, stealing a piece of his toast with the casual intimacy of someone who'd already decided they were keeping him. Kim Hygiene wants lunch in 4 hours. She's testing us, seeing if we're real or if last night was just adrenaline. He met her eyes. You don't have to come. This could get dangerous. She's not someone who makes idle threats. Is she scarier than your mother? Different scary. Ma scary like a hurricane. Obvious, powerful, inevitable. Hygiene scary like poison. Beautiful, subtle, deadly. Ivana considered this while chewing toast. Will it be good food? Probably the best in Seoul. Then I'm in. She grinned. Besides, if we're actually doing this, I should meet the terrifying women in your life eventually. Might as well start with the crime boss. 3 hours later, they arrived at Jungsik, a three Michelin-star restaurant where the menu didn't list prices because if you had to ask, you couldn't afford it. Kim Hygiene had reserved the entire private dining room. She was already seated when they arrived, late 40s, elegant in the way of women who'd earned their power through intelligence and selective ruthlessness. Her smile was warm. Her eyes were calculating. Choi Woi-shik, punctual as always. She stood, extending a hand to Ivana. And you must be the woman brave enough to kiss him while fleeing the Busan idiots. Kim Hygiene, I run shipping operations your boyfriend occasionally competes with. Ivana Johnson. Ivana shook her hand firmly. I clean his apartment. Among other things now, apparently. Hygiene laughed, genuine, delighted. Oh, I like you. Son, he was right. She gestured to chairs. Sit, eat. Let's discuss business and pleasure, because in our world, they're always mixed. The food arrived in waves, molecular gastronomy that tasted like art and cost like ransom. Hygiene waited until the second course to make her move. The Busan crew is a problem, she said conversationally, like discussing weather. They're unstable, overreaching, bad for business. Your accountant's discovery about their embezzlement? Perfect timing. But if we leak it, they'll know it came from you. So we need a neutral party, Wojcik said carefully. Someone with no obvious connection. Exactly. Hygiene's smile sharpened. Someone like Ivana. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Absolutely not, Wojcik said flatly. She's not part of this. I'm sitting right here, Ivana interjected. What exactly are you suggesting? You have a degree in international relations. You worked briefly for a diplomatic consulting firm before your unfortunate financial situation. Hygiene slid a folder across the table. I need someone to approach the Busan leadership as a concerned financial analyst who discovered irregularities in their publicly traded shipping subsidiary. You present the evidence. They investigate internally. The crew that chased you gets eliminated by their own people. Everyone wins. Except Ivana becomes a target. Wojcik snapped. No, actually, Ivana said slowly, opening the folder, this could work. The financial records are solid. I'd be presenting legitimate analysis through legitimate channels. They'd have no reason to connect me to you. They shot at us last night. They shot near us. Different thing. Ivana looked at Hygiene. What's the catch? Smart woman. Hygiene leaned back. The catch is if this goes wrong. If they discover the connection, you become leverage against Wojcik. A weakness. Something they can exploit. Then we make sure it doesn't go wrong, Ivana said simply. Ivana, Wojcik. She turned to him, eyes fierce. You spent last night protecting me. Let me protect you back. I'm not fragile. I'm not helpless. And I'm definitely not going to sit on the sidelines while you handle everything alone. This isn't cleaning schedules and book recommendations, he said desperately. These people kill for sport. And I survived betrayal, poverty, and starting over in a foreign country. I'm tougher than I look. She squeezed his hand. Trust me, like I trust you. Hygiene watched them with something almost like approval. You two are either perfect for each other or going to destroy each other spectacularly. Either way, it'll be entertaining. Not helping, Wojcik muttered. His phone buzzed. Chan Woo. Asterisk Busan crew just put out a contract. 50 million won for information on your girlfriend's identity. They think she's a rival organization's plant. This is escalating fast. Asterisk. Wojcik showed the message to both women. Hygiene's expression hardened. Then we move now. Today. Before they identify her. Or, Ivana said quietly, they already have. And this lunch is the distraction while they position themselves for an attack. She was right. The windows exploded inward in a shower of glass and bullets. Wojcik's first thought was I'm going to die in a Michelin-star restaurant wearing burgundy. His second thought was Ma was right about the tie. His third thought, as he tackled Ivana under the table while bullets destroyed several $1,000s worth of artisanal porcelain. Was Chanwoo better? Gimme hazard pay for this. Under the table, Hygiene shouted, which was hilariously unnecessary since they were already there, pressed against imported Italian marble while chaos erupted overhead. This is officially worse than the last restaurant. Ivana yelled over the gunfire. I know. I'm sorry. This wasn't on the itinerary. Hygiene, impossibly calm, pulled a pistol from her designer handbag like it was lipstick. How many shooters? Wojcik risked a glance. 3, maybe 4. Busan crew. I recognize the ugly one from karaoke night. They're all ugly, Hygiene muttered, returning fire with terrifying precision. And their aim is worse than their singing. Stay down. Wasn't planning on interpretive dance. Wojcik shouted back. His phone, miraculously intact, buzzed against his chest. Minjae. Asterisk boss, I'm outside with reinforcements. Also, your mother is calling. She's very upset about the shooting. She says this is why you should have worn the blue tie. Asterisk. My mother is concerned about fashion during a firefight. Focus. Ivana grabbed his face, kissed him hard. If we survive this, we're having a serious talk about your life choices. If we survive this, I'm opening that bakery and never speaking to criminals again. Another window shattered. Someone screamed. Shooter or server, impossible to tell. The chef burst from the kitchen wielding a cleaver like a samurai sword, shouting about respecting culinary spaces. I love this restaurant, Hygiene said admiringly, shooting someone's kneecap with surgical precision. The staff has standards. The firefight lasted exactly 4 minutes. Min Jae and 6 heavily armed men stormed the restaurant like it was Normandy. The Busan crew realized they were outgunned, and everyone who could still walk retreated through the shattered windows. Silence fell like a curtain. Wojcik looked at Ivana, still pressed against him under the table, covered in molecular foam from destroyed courses. You okay? I have truffle risotto in my hair and probably PTSD, but yes. She started laughing. Huge, slightly hysterical giggles. This is the worst second date ever. Technically still the first date. Wojcik corrected. Last night was interrupted before dessert. Oh my god, you're counting technically children. Hygiene stood, brushing glass from her dress with the composure of someone discussing weather. We have approximately 10 minutes before police arrive with very inconvenient questions. Suggestions? Min Jae appeared, completely unfazed by the destroyed restaurant. Safe house, too. It's across town, more secure, and he paused dramatically, has a fully stocked bakery kitchen. Wojcik stared. Why does Safe House 2 have a bakery kitchen? Your mother insisted. Said something about encouraging his dreams, and if he's going to hide from criminals, he should at least make croissants. Min Jae grinned. She's terrifying and I respect her deeply. They evacuated through the kitchen. The chef insisted on giving them leftover pastries because running from assassins requires proper nutrition, and piled into Min Jae's car. Again, Ivana, still picking glass from her dress, turned to Wojcik. Your mother built you a bakery in a safe house for crime-related emergencies. She's very supportive. She's insane. Both things can be true. Hygiene, riding shotgun, was on her phone arranging cleanup and counterstrikes with the efficiency of someone coordinating a corporate merger rather than organized crime retaliation. The Busan leadership is very apologetic about the interruption. Apparently, the shooters went rogue. They're being handled internally. Handled, Wojcik repeated. That's a nice way of saying dead by sunset, Hygiene confirmed cheerfully. The financial records Chanwoo provided were very convincing. Combined with today's unauthorized violence, the crew's leadership decided those particular members were bad investments. She turned to smile at them. You're welcome. Also, I'm billing you for the restaurant damages. How much? 3 million won. Plus emotional distress for the chef. Worth it, the chef's voice crackled through Hygiene's phone, which was apparently still connected. But if you ever disrespect my dining room again, I'm poisoning your next reservation. Safe House 2 was in Itaewon. Less glass and steel, more converted warehouse with excellent security, and impossibly, an actual professional bakery kitchen that looked like something from a culinary magazine. Mrs. Choi had thought of everything. Flour, sugar, vanilla, even a brand new kitchen mix in rose gold. I'm going to cry, Wojcik said, staring at the kitchen. Please don't. Min Jae begged. We just survived a firefight. Maintain the badass image for another hour. Too late. Wojcik was actually tearing up. She bought the good vanilla, the Madagascar kind. Ivana wrapped her arms around him from behind, resting her chin on his shoulder. Make me something. Now. We almost died. Twice. In 24 hours. She turned him around, eyes serious despite the smile. Make me something that proves you're more than the empire you inherited. Make me something that's just you. So he did. While Min Jae stood guard, Hygiene coordinated continued retaliation against the Busan crew, and Seoul hummed outside with sirens and consequences. Choi Woi-shik, criminal, smuggler, reluctant mafia boss, made croissants. His hands knew the movements. Fold, turn, rest. Fold, turn, rest. Butter between layers of dough, creating something golden and flaky and perfect. Ivana watched from the counter, still wearing his shirt under her destroyed dress, covered in truffle foam and possibility. You're good at this, she said softly. I could have been great at this. He shaped the dough with gentle precision. In another life, without the empire, without the violence. Or, she hopped down, moved beside him, flour dusting her hands as she helped. You could be both. The man who inherited darkness and the man who makes beautiful things. Complexity isn't weakness. The croissants went into the oven. They had 30 minutes. Wojcik pulled her close, flour and hope and fear mixing together. I don't know how to do this. Be what I am and want what I want. Then we figure out together. Ivana kissed him, soft and sure. One absolutely insane day at a time. His phone buzzed. His mother. The croissants better be perfect. I'm coming for dinner. Bringing wedding magazines. Love you. They started laughing and couldn't stop. Outside, enemies retreated. Inside, something impossible began. And the croissants? Perfect. 3 months later, Wojcik stood in his penthouse, the one Ivana used to clean, and realized his entire life had become a romantic comedy written by someone on hallucinogens. Explain to me again, Ivana said from the kitchen, where she was not cleaning, but rather taste-testing his new macaron recipe, how your mother convinced the Korean Mafia Council to let you open a legitimate bakery. She told them I was having a mental health crisis and needed creative outlets for my emotional labor. Wojcik adjusted his tie, burgundy, always burgundy now, in the mirror. Then she threatened to withhold her kimchi recipe from their wives. Your mother weaponized fermented vegetables? My mother weaponizes everything. The bakery, Choi's Patisserie, had opened last month in Gangnam, right next to his legitimate shipping office. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Criminals came for the croissants, stayed for the money laundering consultations. It was the perfect cover, except Wojcik had accidentally made it too successful and now actually spent more time baking than smuggling. The Busan crew sent an apologetic fruit basket yesterday, Min Jae announced, walking in without knocking because boundaries were apparently optional. Also, Chanwoo embezzled 3 million won to buy commercial-grade ovens. For legal purposes, that was a business expense. For actual purposes, he's obsessed with your sourdough starter. Is anyone in my organization not having a crisis? Wojcik muttered. Me, Min Jae said cheerfully. I'm thriving. Also, I'm dating the chef from Jungsik. Turns out surviving firefights together is very romantic. Ivana choked on her macaron. The one who threatened to poison us? He's very passionate. I respect that. Wojcik's phone rang. Hygiene, who become an unexpected ally, / business partner / occasional voice of reason. Your mother invited me to dinner, she said without preamble. She wants to discuss expanding the bakery empire. Should I be concerned? Always be concerned when Ma uses the word empire. Wojcik watched Ivana steal another macaron, heart doing complicated gymnastics. But yes, come. It'll be chaos. Excellent. I'm bringing my girlfriend. She's a prosecutor. This should be interesting. The call ended. Did she just say? Ivana started. Prosecutor. Yes. Dating the woman who runs Incheon smuggling operations. Wojcik laughed until his ribs hurt. My life is a sitcom. The dinner was exactly the beautiful disaster he'd anticipated. Mrs. Choi had commandeered his dining room, turning it into something between a family gathering and a crime syndicate summit. The table groaned under Korean dishes, French pastries, and enough soju to sink a small cup. Present. His mother, terrifying, resplendent, already 3 drinks in. Hygiene and her girlfriend Park Soyun, the prosecutor, who was pretending not to notice the casual criminal discussions. Min Jae and Chef Kwan, who kept arguing about proper knife techniques. Chan Woo, explaining tax evasion strategies to anyone who'd listen. And Ivana, sitting beside Woi Shik, hand in his under the table, anchor and adventure combined. Announcement, Mrs. Choi declared, standing with the authority of someone who'd birthed empires and bad decisions. My son is opening a second bakery. In Paris. M.A. We discussed this, and Ivana will manage the Seoul location while Wojcik pursues his dream. She smiled like a general planning conquest. I've already purchased the property. You're welcome. Stunned silence. Mrs. Choi, Seo-yun said carefully, isn't Paris jurisdiction complicated for someone with international business interests? Only if you get caught. Mrs. Choi winked. Besides, my son's legitimate now. Mostly. The bakery makes more money than the smuggling operation anyway. That's not actually true, Wojcik started. It will be, his mother interrupted. Once you stop underselling croissants because you feel guilty about gentrification. They're $4. That's reasonable. They should be 8. You're losing money on butter alone. Ivana squeezed his hand, whispered, she's not wrong. You're supposed to be on MY's side. I'm on the side of proper business practices, and also those macarons were amazing. Hygiene raised her glass. To new beginnings, and the most chaotic family I've ever had the pleasure of joining. We're not family, Wojcik protested weakly. We absolutely are, Hygiene countered. Your mother sends me kimchi recipes. Chanwoo does my taxes. We're family now. Accept it. The dinner dissolved into chaos. Min Jae and Chef Kwan arguing. Chanwoo drawing financial charts on napkins. Seo-yun pretending to arrest people for increasingly ridiculous crimes. That's illegal use of garlic. His mother planning world domination through baked goods. Wojcik pulled Ivana onto the balcony, needing air and sanity. Seoul glittered below them. Same city, different life. So, Ivana said, leaning against the railing. Paris, you don't have to manage the Seoul location. That's my being ma. He turned to her, serious. But if you wanted to be part of this insanity, officially, are you asking me to be your business partner or to something else? Both. He pulled out a small box. Velvet, expensive, terrifying. Both. Definitely both. Marry me. Run my bakery empire. Put up with my mother. Deal with occasional criminal complications. Eat croissants forever. Ivana stared at the ring. Simple, elegant, perfect. That's the worst proposal ever. I know. I'm bad at this. He was sweating through his expensive shirt. But I love you. Completely. Desperately. Since you reorganized my books and saw someone worth saving and kissed me while fleeing bullets. You're the only person who's ever. She kissed him, stopping the spiral. When she pulled back, her eyes were wet. Yes. Yes. Yes to the chaos. Yes to the croissants. Yes to your terrifying mother and your insane friends and the life we're building from smuggling operations and pastry dough. She laughed through tears. Yes to all of it. From inside, his mother screamed, I knew it, so loudly the neighbors probably called the police. Min Jae started crying. Chanwoo started calculating wedding expenses. Chef Kwan threatened to cater or die trying. Hygiene opened champagne that probably cost more than a car. Wojcik slid the ring on Ivana's finger. Perfect fit, because of course his mother had measured while she slept during one of their many accidental visits, and kissed her like the world was ending and beginning simultaneously. One question, Ivana murmured against his lips. Anything. The journal. The one where you wrote poetry about me. Can I read it? Absolutely not. That's classified information. I'm going to be your wife. Still classified. National security risk. She laughed until she cried, and he held her while his family celebrated inside, and Seoul hummed below, and everything impossible became perfectly, chaotically real. 6 months later, Choi's Patisserie Paris opened to critical acclaim. The reviews praised the unexpected fusion of Korean and French techniques, and the owner's obvious passion for craft over profit. What they didn't mention The basement doubled as a very secure storage facility for hygiene's European operations. The accountant wrote poetry about tax havens. The security team were all reformed criminals who'd found redemption through sourdough. And every morning, Choi Woi-shik, former reluctant Mafia boss, current passionate baker, always devoted husband, made croissants beside his wife and thought about the strange path from empire to flour-dusted happiness. You know what's funny? Ivana said one morning, watching sunrise over Paris from their apartment above the bakery. What? Your mother was right. About everything. The tie, the match, the bakery, all of it. Wojcik groaned. Please don't tell her that. Too late. I texted her last week. Ivana. She sent back 17 wedding photos and a recipe for croissant kimchi fusion pastries. We're testing them next month. That sounds disgusting. That sounds brilliant. She kissed him, flower and hope and future mixing together. Trust your mother's vision. I trust your vision. Ma's just along for the ride. Wojcik, darling. Ivana's impression of Mrs. Choi was terrifyingly accurate. I am the ride. They laughed until the croissants burned, then made new ones, then opened the bakery to lines of customers who had no idea they were buying pastries from reformed criminals who'd found redemption through butter and love and one very determined matchmaker. And if sometimes, late at night, Wojcik still wrote in his journal about the woman who'd seen him breaking and stayed anyway, well, some poetry was worth keeping, even if his wife definitely read it when he wasn't looking. Comment below if you believe everyone deserves a second chance at happiness. Only cold-hearted people who side with betrayers like Darnell won't engage. And hit subscribe if you think Mrs. Choi is the ultimate matchmaking genius. Trolls who don't appreciate meddling mothers with good intentions, they won't subscribe.